In the small town of Klingenberg, Germany, in the early 19th century, there lived a woman named Gottliebin Dittus. She was known to be a pious and devout Christian, but her demeanor began to change one day when she claimed to have been possessed by a demon. At first, the townspeople were skeptical of Gottliebin's claims. But as they began to witness strange occurrences, such as objects moving on their own and Gottliebin speaking in tongues, they became convinced that she was indeed possessed. The local priest, Father Johann, was called to perform an exorcism. He arrived at Gottliebin's home with a team of assistants and began the arduous process of attempting to drive out the demon that had taken hold of her. The exorcism began with prayers and blessings, but it quickly became apparent that this was not going to be a simple or straightforward process. Gottliebin's body began to contort and twist in unnatural ways, and she began to speak in a voice that was not her own. Father Johann and his team persisted in their efforts, using holy water and crucifixes to try and banish the demon. But each time they thought they had succeeded, the demon would return with even greater force. As the exorcism dragged on, the townspeople became increasingly frightened. They began to avoid Gottliebin's home, and whispers of dark magic and witchcraft began to circulate. Despite their fears, Father Johann and his team continued their work. But as the days turned into weeks, and the weeks turned into months, their efforts began to take a toll. The strain of the exorcism was visible on their faces, and they began to doubt whether they would ever be able to drive the demon out. Finally, after many long months, the demon appeared to weaken. Gottliebin's body stopped convulsing, and she fell into a deep sleep. For several days, she lay unconscious, and the townspeople held their breath, waiting to see if the demon would return. But when Gottliebin woke up, she was herself once more. The demon had been banished, and the town breathed a collective sigh of relief. However, Gottliebin was not the same woman she had been before the possession. She had seen things and experienced things that had left a permanent mark on her soul. She became increasingly withdrawn, refusing to speak to anyone about what had happened to her. And as for the townspeople, they were left to wonder whether they had truly witnessed a miracle or whether they had simply been witness to a dark and terrifying force beyond their understanding. Years later, some of the townspeople would claim that they could still hear Gottliebin's voice, speaking in tongues and calling out for help. And though no one could say for certain whether her possession had been real or imagined, the memory of the exorcism of Gottliebin Dittus would live on in the town of Klingenberg for generations to come.